Hey everybody, welcome to this presentation about the Bhutan Harmony Retreat. And this is a retreat that I run every year to Bhutan. And I've been doing this since 2018 with Dr. Karma, who was an ex-monk for 8 years in the monastery. And he's a really great resource to travel with. He also trained a lot of the tour guides on how to teach Buddhism to guests in the Ministry of Tourism. And he's also a very funny person. And so in this presentation, I will go over our itinerary, our program, and if you have any questions, you can jot them down in the chat and I will answer them as towards the end. And yeah, so first I wanted to start with when the retreat is. It's happening April 10th to the 17th, 2025. I'm running one later on in September. And that retreat is already underway. And so you can join in April if that is something that, if this presentation speaks to you and you feel called to the land. I think that's real important that the land has to speak to you. I love running retreats to charged sacred places with lots of holy sites, because there's something about when you land in a certain place that you can palpably feel, and it takes you to a very different state of consciousness. It's very beneficial to your personal and spiritual development. And so you could say that, the only reason I travel personally is really to visit sacred sites. Okay, so that's when our next retreat is. Bhutan. Bhutan is the land of the thunder dragon. It is believed that the wild thunderstorms that struck the Himalayan mountain peaks were from the fire of a dragon. And when we travel in Bhutan, we're just literally surrounded by these holy Himalayan peaks with ice snow in the kind of far distance. Everest is kind of far off somewhere to the distance. You can't quite see Everest from where we are, but it is nearby. Nepal's just kind of a hop, skip, and a jump away. So we are kind of nestled in the crown chakra of the world. And 83% of the country, they are Vajrayana Buddhists. There are three major schools of Buddhism. And the Vajrayana Buddhist school is also sometimes known as Tibetan Buddhism or Tantric Buddhism. And 11% are Hindus, and the minority include Christians and the local folk religions of the Bonpo. Now, the Bonpo is the indigenous religion that was very animistic, very shamanic, that existed from, they're still there, but they are the minority, but they were the predominant religion from the year 700 and before in the Sept and Bhutan region. And the Bonpo people were very much into ritual and into worshiping local deities, and they had lots of local folk dances and various animal sacrifices. And Buddhism came along and kind of took away, the animal sacrifices and whatnot. But what was interesting was that there was a blend. So when you travel to Bhutan, you'll see this integration between the old folk religion and also how Buddhism is practiced there. Bhutan is also, if you're not familiar, it's famously known as the first country in the world to measure the gross national happiness versus gross national product. And so most countries measure success through how much profit they're yielding and how great the economy is and what the employment rate is. And Bhutan, they have this ministry that sends they do surveys around the country to see how happy people are, how content they are with what they have. And there's something about the culture and the way that the government has protected the culture and the values that are instilled through just Buddhist belief systems that allow them to accept the nature of life and to move through in such a way that's very accepting. And so it's a really interesting experience to be in, to be around people who are very, very open and very simple also. More than 70% of the country is covered by trees and mountains, and it's actually the first carbon negative country alongside Panama and Suriname. And yeah, the air is just beautiful to breathe in. And they have a lot of hydropower that they export to India. And then their other main source of economy is tourism. So those are their two main things. The temples are charged with years and years of focused meditation and spiritual energy. Here's a group that came with me in 2018, and there's there's tiger's nest in the back of this picture, and this is a temple that's built on a sheer cliff with a vertical drop. And just some of the temples are, when you walk in, you can't describe them. It's just very powerful. And we sit and we meditate and we just absorb everything that's around us. So preservation and protection of the Bhutanese natural environment and ancient culture is at the forefront of their government policy. And this is why, the Bhutanese government limits the amount of tourists who come in. They are in this very interesting place in their history where they have to move forward with the times. And COVID definitely did that when they kind of pushed things into a more digital era for them. But then also they have this very strong desire to protect their ancient culture and their customs. And so when you walk around Bhutan, you'll see the men and the women wearing their traditional dress. So the men wear what is called a go, and then the women wear the kira. And yeah, so this is their national identity, and this is something you don't really see people walking around wearing, clothing from the 700s. So that's about their national identity. The royal government believes that unrestricted access to the country would have a negative impact on the natural environment and ancient cultural traditions. And that's why when you do travel to Bhutan, you'll see that there's very few people, very few tourists coming through. It's quite curated. So that's the reason why the government charges a tourist tax of $150 per day during the high seasons. And all visitors must be escorted by a government appointed official at all times when they're traveling through the country. And, unlike Nepal, if you ever traveled through Nepal, you can kind of go off on your own, whereas Bhutan is not like that. And some people wonder, well, why is it like that? And Bhutan has seen what's happened to places like Nepal and to Thailand, and they don't want that. They want to very much preserve their culture, and so that's why there is this hefty tourist tax, and that's kind of what limits the people coming in. But the tourist tax also, it helps them with their school systems and their healthcare. Every day during the program, we're practicing daily yoga and also meditation. And sometimes we'll even get to practice outside, like in this beautiful place. This is near one of the wrathful Buddhist deities temples. And so, yeah, this is a beautiful day when this picture was taken. And then we also do shamanic breathwork journey workshops where we use the breath to guide us into a deeper state of consciousness and to receive insight from other aspects of ourselves, from hidden parts of ourselves, the inner child parts of ourselves that need to be healed. But it's not always about healing. Sometimes the breathwork journeys are about inspiration and where are we going to move forward to in life. What kind of divine guidance can propel us forward into the exactly what's in alignment with us. And we also have opportunity for some healing ceremonies, and this is all very individual depending on the groups and what is feeling necessary in the moment, and we co-create these together as they are necessary. And so though there is a structure to the places that we visit in Bhutan, and there's also flexibility in how we create experiences together. So we visit 4 places primarily. We visit Thimphu, Paro, Punakha, and Ha Valley. Thimphu is the new capital, which is probably its most modern, kind of setup. And then Paro is the old capital that you fly into. And the plane kind of goes in on an angle as you're landing into the Himalayas, and very few pilots are actually licensed to fly into Bhutan. And then the Punakha Valley, which is subtropical, so it's quite warm there. It's a very fertile valley. And then we go to the Ha Valley, which is probably the coldest valley we go to, which is probably the most remote place that you'll go to in the Southwest. And so we travel through these 4 different cities, and we visit the holy sites, the temples, and we go on little hikes, and then we do our practices. So yeah, we're spending time in some of the oldest Buddhist temples in the world. Um, we're also visiting, like, for example, here is, this is a pass that you drive up to. And on a clear day, you can see the Himalayan peaks in the background. And there's 108 of these. These are known as chortens in Bhutan. In Nepal, they're called stupas. Stupas are these kind of holy little houses that the Buddha actually was buried in one of these kind of stupa chorten things. And they look different depending on what country you're in. But it's a holy house, essentially. And the climate, so yeah, because we do travel to 4 different cities, the climate varies. So it can go anywhere from 10 degrees Celsius at night to 25 degrees Celsius during the day. Yeah, because April is springtime, and the rhododendron flowers will be out in bloom. And during the day, it can get quite hot because we are walking outside, and if there's no cloud coverage, you might have to take some layers off. At night is when it gets chilly, but don't worry, we have heaters in the hotels. And we stay at very beautiful boutique hotels across the 4 cities. They're all 4 stars, and they take care of us, and they're insulated and they're warm, and so we'll be comfortable. Here's just some testimonials from some students who have come to a past Bhutan experience. This one is from Teresa. Witnessing tiger's nest and the feelings of spirituality there was phenomenal. It was just the most emotional experience that I've had in a long time. But the thing that impressed me the most was the energy of all the beautiful people on this retreat. And that's one of the things about retreats that I love, is when we gather together, there's something unique about each and every group that can't be quite duplicated. And we're all medicine for each other. All the stories that we share, all the things that people are going through, all the things that people are coming out of, and just the communal support and just being around like-minded people who are on a spiritual path is really, it's really awesome, and it's indescribable, the kind of energy that's created in these containers. And so, yeah, I love watching people in these groups learn about each other and learn about themselves through each other. That's always really fascinating to me and really heartwarming. Here's another one. It's been a wonderful retreat. I came here without expectation. I was totally surprised. The entire team was so accommodating. The most memorable thing I'll take away is the warmth of the people who joined this journey, from Dan. Yeah, and that's the thing, on this retreat, we will take care of you. We have a team on the ground. We'll have transport arranged. You really don't have to do anything but show up and be open, and to be willing to dive into the practices that we will engage in. That can be quite life-changing if you really give yourself permission to fully go there. Yeah, this is what's included. We have our daily yoga meditation practices, the shamanic journey workshops, which won't happen every day because that would be too intense since we are traveling. We'll probably have them every other day. And then we have cultural activities. We visit in the morning after breakfast. We visit either a little hike, or we go to a temple visit, and then we'll have lunch somewhere in town, and then we'll go off to another sacred temple. And all the meals are included: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and tea and snacks, of course. All of our 4-star hotels that we're going to be staying in, all of the local transport by car in Bhutan. So we travel with a coach that fits 12 people, and all of our luggage just kind of gets stored either up top, or we have another car that carries the baggage. And then when you get picked up from the airport, and you get sent back to the airport. Dr. Karma leads us, depending on if there's more or less people, we might have more hands on deck to kind of support. And then cultural programs, of course, are all included. And every group varies because different things will be happening in the temples. Sometimes there's festivals going on. Sometimes there's a visiting Rinpoche, or a spiritual master coming from out of town, coming to do a teaching. So various cultural programs will be dependent. all the time of the year. And then all the special entry fees. So every time you enter a temple, there is an entry fee. So we take care of all of that. And then, of course, the high peak travel visa costs. So remember that was that up to 150 US dollars per day. We include all of that. There's also a visa application fee on top of that, believe it or not, which is 140 US dollars. And we take care of that as well. There's also, I put everyone in a WhatsApp chat so that we stay connected when we land together in Bangkok. Some people are flying into Delhi. Those are the three main cities you can enter Bhutan are from Delhi, Bangkok, and Kathmandu. The other place that you can enter Delhi through is through Singapore, except there's only one flight a week there. And unfortunately, that flight does not time out with our retreat. And so I recommend everyone fly in through Bangkok. Unless if you're coming in from like Dubai or something, you know, Delhi would probably make more sense. And yeah, we jump on a pre-arrival group Zoom meeting to meet everybody and to organize logistics a month before. Make sure you get your packing list right and all of that. Also, I've created a 10 module online Buddhism meditation course. So when you sign up for the retreat, you'll actually get access to this program that I've created, where each module you learn the basics of Buddhism if you are new to Buddhism. And if you're not new to Buddhism, this will be a really nice refresher. The modules are broken down into video lectures that are quite visual. So they're really, you can listen to them like a podcast, and I've added some video imagery to help you with your learning. And they go over, you know, the main concepts of, you know, karma, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And then you get to reflect on certain themes that I've offered to you through contemplation, which is a big key in the Buddhist practice, is contemplating and inquiring why we are thinking the way we're thinking. We look at the Buddhist concept of samsara, or the wheel of suffering, sometimes known as wheel of life. What keeps us on this rat race and hamster wheel of chasing our own tail, you know, making the same mistakes, rinse and repeat, that make us suffer. We learn about the three poisons of greed, of anger, of delusion, or disillusionment, and really looking at what in our lives needs to change so that we can be free from suffering. And this is really the core of the Buddhist teachings. What is the nature of our suffering? How can we break free from it and move on this path towards nirvana or enlightenment? And there's 10 different modules. There's a meditation practice in every module. This one here in my picture is called metta, which is Pali for loving kindness. And, there's some chanting, the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. And then there's also a meditation on the Four Noble Truths. There's one for Padmasambhava, who is the second incarnation of the Buddha. And so there's various practices that involve chanting or visualization or guiding you into a breath or somatic awareness that are, what, in my opinion, the essence of the Vajrayana Buddhist path. And yeah, towards the later half of the module, you'll learn more about the Vajrayana tantric path of Buddhism. In the beginning, it's a little bit more universal of all the three different traditions. And so it's a nice precursor to jumping into Bhutan, because then you get to understand the symbology of what you'll see in the temples. You'll understand also the cosmology and the principal belief systems before you enter. So you're not kind of just entering a complete Buddhist country with no anything. And then also you will have done some inner work. So when you land into a temple and you sit down, or we spontaneously have a group meditative experience, you'll be able to drop in a little bit more easily. And so yeah, I'm really happy with this 10 module course. And so have the people who have been doing it. And so this is part of the retreat. It's like pre-retreat homework, but it's fun. So don't think of it as like homework. Okay. So the cost. So the cost for the retreat for 8 days, 7 nights, if you get a twin share, it's $3,600 US all inclusive. Or if you wanted a private room, it's $4,200 US. And I only take 12 people onto the trip because I find I've had more before in the past. I just like 12. 12 is a nice intimate number. It's not too many, it's not too little. It's enough and people to create an energy in the field. If you are doing a twin share, but you don't have someone to room with, that's not a problem. We can sort you out with that. You just have to let us know what your preferences are in a roomie. And then of course, if you want a private room, we can sort that out as well. And then to hold your spot, you'll need to do a $500 US deposit to hold your space. And then also I'm offering an early bird special if you put your deposit in before November 1st. It's from an organizational standpoint, it is very uh, favorable for me as an organizer to know when people are committed, because it allows me to book hotel rooms. It allows me to organize transport and all these things in advance. So yeah. And also just for visa purposes, airplanes as well, because it's really difficult to just rock up to Bhutan since there's only one flight per day. And there's only one airline that goes into Bhutan, and that's the Royal Bhutanese airline called Druk Air. You can't enter any other way. So once you enter into Bangkok, you have to get out of the airport and you have to take a whole different airline. And if there are no more, and that's a small airplane. So if there's no more flights, because often that flight drops people off in Bangladesh and Dhaka before it goes off to Bhutan. And so if that flight gets full, you kind of can't come on the retreat because there's no more space. So it is crucial to get in early and book your flights, and I'll help you with all that on a little Zoom meeting. So yeah, my early bird special, going back to that, is if you put your deposit in before November 1st, I will offer you a 90-minute complimentary human design coaching session online that I'll record for you. If you're not familiar with human design, it is an integration of quantum physics with the Kabbalah, with the I Ching system, which is the ancient Chinese book of divination, along with the chakra system, and going through the 64 gates or the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching and how they interact with the energies that flow through you and how you show up in the world. It's basically your energetic blueprint. And it's a really helpful map to understand how you are to make decisions on a daily basis with more ease. It's almost like, if you're equating driving through life in a car, we don't want to be like always at the wheel. It'd be nice to just be in the car driving through life and put it on auto drive or autopilot and enjoy the scenery and let the energy of the car take care of itself. And so this is the essence of human design. It's like, how do we sit back and chill a little bit and not manhandle the car constantly and over control and let life unfold for us instead of us having to make life happen. And those of you who are familiar with human design and have already done a human design session with me, I can do another human design session to go deeper into your chart. Or if you wanted to do like a composite chart, matching, your chart up with someone else, maybe it's like a lover or something, I don't know. Or maybe it's a child or something like that you want to kind of see what synergies are there and kind of what potential pitfalls could come in your way in how you behave around each other and kind of to set then boundaries that honor both of your charts. So that's something that I'm willing to offer people if you sign up before November 1st. Oh, that's it. Okay, so that is my entire presentation. So thank you so much. And I'm just going to jump here into the little chat here to see if you have any questions. Do I have to be good at yoga? You do not have to be good at yoga. You don't have to be good at meditation to come on this retreat. You just have to have a willingness. All my yoga classes are designed with the intention of moving energy, right? So that you are open and ready to receive abundant energy from the universe, from source, or whatever you want to call it, from the Buddhas. The whole point of yoga is to get you out of the head and more into the body, because we're so stuck in the analytical thinking, and that's the disease of the modern human. Now, the meditation practice. That's why I created that 10 module course. It will help you build your practice prior to. And, you don't have to be perfect at anything. The whole point of going on this retreat is about self-discovery, and we're all there to support each other. And you'll actually find when you're in the group, it's much easier to drop in than if you were to, if I gave you homework to sit at home and do your meditation on the couch, right? When you're in the group field with like-minded people, especially in a sacred charged place like a temple, it just drops in much easier. All right. Is altitude going to be a problem for breathing? Okay, that's a good question. No. So Bhutan's not actually that high. People think because it's not, we're not like in the snow-capped peaks. So all the cities are in the valleys, about 2,800 meters to like 1,400 meters, which is, 1,400 meters is quite low, where we'll be in the Punaka Valley. The Ha Valley is somewhere between 2006, 2008. So we're not that high to the point where you'll have difficulty breathing. No one's really experienced in the past the past groups any sort of difficulty in breathing, unless, I mean, if you do have like a respiratory ailment and a concern, do reach out to me and let me know. But yeah, no one's had an issue so far with altitude. What's the best place to fly into? Oh, I think I answered that. So if you're coming in from Australia or even the US, Bangkok is the best place to fly into. So you might want to start looking at flights getting into Bangkok. And then I typically spend 2 nights in Bangkok before the retreat, because the flight that leaves on that Thursday morning, April 10th, is at 5 a.m. And that means I need to be up at 2:30, and I need to get in a cab by 3 and then get to the airport by the very latest 3:30, which is plenty of time, an hour and a half before this flight takes off. So, and that's me like cutting it close, but it's actually fine because it's a very short, it's a very, it's not a big flight. There's not a lot of people on that flight. So I find an hour and a half is just fine. Some people want to be at the airport at 3 a.m., 2 hours before. So I definitely like to land in Bangkok just to settle my, internal clock, spend, a whole day doing massages and enjoying myself before I get on, that very, very early flight. When do I need to let you know by? Well, the earlier the better. Of course, there's that early bird special I told you about for November 1st. But as soon as let me know, because then we can get these flights booked and get everything organized. So I think, okay, that's there doesn't seem to be any more questions in the chat box. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for this little presentation about Bhutan. And if you have any questions at all, reach out. I'm happy to jump on a call. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you later. All right, bye.